All right, what's going to seem like an unfortunate thing to some of you is the fact that when you add and subtract fractions, you always have to get a common denominator. Now, sometimes that's real easy, and you've got these numbers that just work out well, but sometimes it's not. And so what I want you to focus on in this video is the process. Okay, don't focus so much on the actual numbers, because what we want is an approach that works no matter what the numbers are. And so up here in blue, I've given you basically three fractions we have to add together, and I purposely picked some numbers that some would work out nice and others wouldn't, so we have to decide on a strategy. Okay, now if I'm going to pick out a common denominator, and by the way, in this video I'm not going to do the whole problem, I just want to work on how to choose the correct and easiest common denominator for this problem. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a relationship. Okay, I see that I've got three denominators here, and the first thing you want to look at is one number nicely related to another? In other words, will one number divide into the other? Is it a factor of the other? And right here you can notice that 11 goes into 22. It goes in twice. So if I used 22 as a common denominator, 11 would work just fine. Okay, 11 would nicely turn into that. So those two are closely related. So since 11 goes into 22, 22 could work for both of these. The problem is 7 and 22 don't really have any factors in common. 7 doesn't go into 22. So this gets a little more complicated. So what I'm going to have to do then is I'm going to have to take these two numbers, since I really don't know any other way to make this happen, I'm going to have to take 22 times 7, which is 154, and that's my common denominator for this whole problem. Now, you might think to yourself, 154, I'm not sure if 11 works with that. We'll try it out. Take 154 divided by 11 and see if it works. And you'll find that it will, because 11 goes into 22, so 11 should go into anything that 22 also does go into. So that's how we find it with numbers. Now what we need to do is take that knowledge and translate it to something that has unknown numbers. And that's all this is with x's. It's numbers that we don't know. So here I've got x. I don't know that. Here I've got a number 2x, which means a number that's twice as big as the first one. Hey, notice, same relationship, a number that's twice as big. And then I got a number that's, well, it doesn't really seem to have any relationship whatsoever. They're totally different. So look at the process we did. We said 11 goes into 22. Well, 1x goes into 2x. Okay, it's a generic form, just another way of representing this situation with a lot of numbers instead of just 11 and 22. So 2x has got to be part of my common denominator. On the other hand, x minus 4, well, that's a completely different number I don't know. It's kind of like the 7 up here. See how 7 is 4 less than 11, and they don't really have much in common at all? So x minus 4 is a completely different number. 2x is a completely different number. So I'm going to have to do the same thing I did right here. The problem is I can't get an actual value. I'm going to have to say that 2x times x minus 4, whatever that equals at some point, that's going to be my common denominator. 2x times x minus 4. Notice x goes into 2x, so I don't really have to include this x right here as part of my common denominator, because I know that anything that has 2x in it, that x can divide nicely into there. Just like anything that has 22 as a part of it, 11 will be able to divide in there. So I hope you can see the relationship here between these numbers. I basically took these values, did the problem, and then I set up the common denominator, and then I said, okay, let's look at a generic situation that has the same relationship. 11, that was this one. 22, that's that one. It's twice as big. 11 minus 4 is 7. That's just 4 units less than this one. Okay, so what we're going to try to do every time you get stuck on finding a common denominator, the key strategy is to go back and think about what would I do with simple, fairly small numbers, and now can I translate that strategy to something with numbers that I don't know.